So my daughter turned
All right. Jedi, here we go. Tell me what you see.
I see you placing a piece.
Tom, can you hear?
Hey, Tom.
Hello, Tom.
Can't
Yes,
hear you, Tom.
yes, I hear you.
Hi,
Yes.
how are you?
Good. Hi, Jose.
Got some good news for you today.
Okay,
Came on my way about 15 minutes ago.
perfect. Can hardly wait.
So yeah, Jose, when you get a chance, watch this video.
Can you send me the link?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So they're they're showing you how the AI can see and interact with and make decisions, and it's
That's the way to go. We're waiting for John. Hopefully they're not in
They're in the closet. Hi, Tom.
Hello, Celia. How are you?
I'm just wonderful. Technology.
Technology's wonderful too. Yep. Hi, Bill.
hey, how are you?
Good. Little
Tom, can
chilly.
you see us well?
Yeah, I can see you perfectly. Yep. All good.
Good, good. So John's here.
Sorry, I'm sitting in the other room.
Did you get my message?
I did.
I made like 30 of them.
That's it?
We're waiting for no, and then I believe Chris is running late.
Yeah, Corbin just said he just boarded a plane. So Corbin's not gonna make it.
It's 5:32. So I don't know if you want to start or you want to wait 5 more minutes.
So we have 3, there's one more, right, for corn. Yeah. Not looking at anything.
Okay, who do we have? Greg is on.
Okay.
So
All right,
we have
good.
to make one, I believe.
Correct?
Greg, you there?
Hey, this is Breck. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey, Brett.
Hey. Hey, my plan was to come in person, but I'm having to do something for work, so I'm trying to juggle 2 things at once. So
No worries.
It's supposed to get here, like in the country Saturday.
Maybe it'll be here in time for the net parade. You could join us.
I'm sure my in-laws would be happy to join too, so. Okay, do I have a second to adopt the agenda?
Can you see the screen, first of all of you?
Yep, I can see it. Yes.
Second? Okay. All right, well, thanks, everyone. Corbin's getting on a plane and I just texted him, so I'm not sure, but we have a quorum, so. Okay, so thanks, everyone, for coming. Jose, you want to, or Celia, you have anything to say before we start?
No, I have some questions.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I took the questions in the order of your minutes.
okay, so we can do that.
I don't want to interrupt your meeting though.
Okay, perfect, okay. All right.
So you don't want me to ask the question?
You can ask him, you want to ask him now or during the bullets?
Website. Mr. Bill.
Website charging, we got some projects like GoGo video conferencing, key card
I'll
access.
ask them afterwards and then you could say we already discussed it.
All right, so you want to start, you want to just jump into the website?
Let me just say something that's not on that list.
Okay,
I received an email from Lauren. I have to send you guys the resolution so that you can make the necessary changes. think we got like 2 weeks to make the changes to the resolution so we can send it.
Is that that's for the next
For the,
year?
for- yeah, for next year.
For next year, okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, website. So, I have to give Krista and Bill a spreadsheet that I had created, so I have to send it to you guys. That covers all of the plugins, so that we can review and evaluate. And then, I have a call with Freshie Sites next week on Wednesday to evaluate how frequently they're gonna maintain the website, because I know that was an issue that, Bill and Krista had brought up. And figure out if there's gonna be any changes on pricing. So
So they were gonna do it every 3 months,
it was
quarterly?
quarterly, yeah.
And what are they, I mean, I think it's probably worthwhile to talk about what are they charging us and what are they billing that as? think
I can
that'd be
send you
worthwhile.
I can send you the information with the payments, but
Okay.
it gets paid quarterly, by the way, so. it's
Okay.
not-
Because that's my question. Freshie Sites. You had several issues. What were the key issues? That's what your minute said.
Oh, no, so there were some issues that Krista and Bill have pointed out with the site. And what I've responded just now is that I'm creating a spreadsheet so that we can start addressing those issues and reevaluating.
Okay.
I asked this before, I mean, Celia, I'm really big on feedback, especially from our residents. So Jose and I talked about a month or 6 weeks ago about just kind of checking in and see how's the feedback coming from the town? Are there complaints, positives, good feedback? Do we have any so far since the site's been brought over?
No, there was just, the stuff that was brought up by both Bill and Krista, they were valid points. And then what I really want to bring up is I have to create a system in which I can commit more time to them because they can give me the insight and we can make the changes. I haven't made the time because other things become priority. But I'm working that out so I can make a better attempt at being more attentive to both. of you.
Do we have, so some of the feedback we got, especially from Paul and some other people, were like the minutes, videos, recordings,
So
those up there?
So that's part of there's an action plan that's being developed, and one of them is creating some guidelines as to how soon these meeting minutes and these videos and any information gets posted on the site. So that's not just for technology committee,
Yeah.
but for all committees and all meetings. It's just sometimes things get in the way and things get delayed. I mean, that's why we're trying to build that out.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, I mean, most of the work that's been done now, and I think what we're still kind of getting to is getting to baseline of like, this is where, one, we had to get the site back up and operational after the whole situation.
Yeah.
Now it's getting like, what are our standard operating procedures and how are we getting stuff? And I think once we can get to a good baseline, then we really need to start talking about what's next. Is there something next? Are we moving into just maintenance and we're cool with it? Are we gonna start looking at like what does the future of the website look like? You know, so that's kind of, I think we need to get to baseline first,
Right,
and then we can start talking about like what's next.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And I think we'll get to it with the key card access. I think some of the improvements and some of the technical availability of things for our residents, when we start using the app, people are gonna want more because they're gonna say, oh, I can do all these things now with the app. I can use my phone for this. I think they're gonna start wanting more. So
People
I think the
already
web,
want more. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like even as you talk about,
Yeah.
like people have said, a lot of the feedback we got with the communications advisory group was just around it's not like they want it organized in a different way, or if they like, I mean, I think there's a lot of different things that we can do for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
so I think the baseline now moving to that with the, 'cause probably 6 or 9 months before we start getting the key card access and the app going. I think those will come together where, you know, by next summer, it's gonna be like, whoa, we've done a lot in 9 months compared to where we've been stagnant for years.
For sure.
So, all right, awesome.
Yeah, so you were gonna look into the backup frequency and whether we had the ability to trigger a backup.
So we can, but then what Freshie Site stated is that then we have to be held accountable for it and not them.
So what are they doing again?
So they actually do their backups, but like I said,
Yeah.
everything is quarterly.
Right.
That's
and
their system. And
And
then
that's
it's,
too infrequently. I mean,
Right,
We'll
so-
get back into a situation we were in before where the website got
Right.
hacked. So right now in the website, there are 19 plugins that need to be updated.
Right.
Now, if it was my site,
There wouldn't be 19 plugins.
number one,
Maybe way less.
number one, number two, I would have the ability to take a snapshot of the website.
Right.
Go in and do the updates. If one of those updates broke something, I roll back the
You can
snapshot.
revert, yeah.
Right, and that should be, in my opinion,
That's exactly what I do.
it would be happening at least once a month, not
Right.
once a quarter. Because if you wait too long, 25% of the world's websites are WordPress. And so the exploits for how to hack a WordPress website are pretty well known. And it doesn't take somebody actively doing it. They can just set a script free on the internet to go find a vulnerability. So that delay in updates for these plugins could lead us into a situation like we have before.
Yeah.
So I think it needs to be more frequent. And if our vendor's saying, hey, if you go in and touch something basic on the website, it's on you, not us. I don't know that I like that relationship when you're just doing plugin update.
So here's what I'll do. If you're free next week.
I'm not, but I will. be
Probably
looking at
probably
that.
hit it up after
Or
the
either
holidays.
one
The
of them.
holidays is gonna throw a wrench in everybody's schedule, so
Yeah, I'm
it's
gonna be
not
in the
critical like this minute.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, it's still a point that needs to be addressed ASAP, only because if anything then does happen, then you're reverting back 3 months from, as opposed to last month.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so here's my technology question. When you say plugins, I'm sorry, I'm
No,
gonna
it's-
learn.
Sure.
This is like good for me to learn this, so I can talk to the residents about it. Plugins, is that like updates on a computer and your computer waits
No.
forever to do updates?
No.
No.
Well,
Okay.
so plugins are individual pieces of software that are added to the WordPress website to give it functionality, like a calendar or a response form or something like that. And there are updates quite frequently, sometimes as much as weekly. These plugin manufacturers can make updates. And so you as a site operator need to go in, take a look, make a judgment, first make a backup, then make a judgment call. Do I want to do that update? And if that time stretches out, usually the updates are because they've learned of a security vulnerability. And they want you to update the software so that hole in the system is patched so it can't be exploited.
Okay, so it's almost like, I'm trying to
Yeah.
simplify, it's almost like updating your phone.
It is.
And if you don't update it and
Yep.
there's a new update for what you should have updated, it's not really gonna,
Or you're gonna
okay,
get
so
hacked in the
are
work.
they telling you they don't want to do this?
No, it's not that.
It's
It's
what
that,
we contract them to do.
Yeah.
We direct them to do. They will update it daily if we pay them for it.
Okay.
But the backups here, so backups just making a clone of the website. Right now they do it every 3 months.
Right.
Like Bill said, if something happened, we'd rather have a monthly clone of it so we can always plug that back in and not be 3 months hold on the data.
Because if we have to come up from a 3-month-old backup,
Right.
then someone here has to then go back and find all of the videos, all of the notices, all of the meeting
For
minutes,
3
and
months.
redo those manually.
Yep.
so, and we're just really discussing it with them, changing the terms and figuring out what the pricing is. And if it makes sense, because then if not, we can find another alternative.
When's the next conversation with the communication committee?
There isn't a communication.
Because this website is just a brochure for Celebration. I mean, it's just all this wasted space for a picture. And if I was, and then the next section is about Celebration. I don't think the residents need to know about Celebration. The first thing the residents get to see is halfway down the page. It needs to be designed to be resident centric, not, hey, come find
Yes.
Celebration.
And there's a whole thing, so the communications advisory group put together a whole thing, and there are multiple personas, because the website is not just for residents. They are a key user, but you also have, we are a place where tourists come. We are a place where you have potential buyers looking.
Yep.
I leveraged the site a lot before we moved here as we were researching. So there is a full, like, I think we put together 12 personas of the
Right.
different types of folks and the kind of information they need from a
Mhm.
communications. So there's a whole lot of documentation out there, as well as some recommendations. So it might be worth grabbing that and starting that is starting with that to look at and see what's already been done, and then take a look at that. But
Yeah.
we have to, I think we get to baseline first and then, there's lots of things that I would love to do to
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I just look at this as an enormous waste of space.
Yeah.
I was instructed to look at what the communication advisory group did, and start integrating it into the strategic plan of action. So it's something that was brought to my attention.
I'm just happy we are going in such a right direction right now. I mean, it's really good. Just compared to last year.
And then as far as the meeting with Freshie Sites, I'll record
Yeah.
the call.
Okay.
If you can make it next week, but
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do about making that a priority. It is a priority.
The biggest thing for me is the backups.
Yeah.
Making sure you know how to trigger a backup that is like primary, that it goes from there.
Gotcha.
And the thing I want to know is more around what's our service contract like? What
Yeah.
are we paying and
What are we paying?
and for what? Are we paying development dollars for updates? Or are we paying like just what is that contract? What does the statement of work look like? Is what I'd be interested to see.
Gotcha.
All right, so we'll move on to the EV charging. I know Tom's on, he's in New Jersey right now, but Tom's done a tremendous amount of work working with Jose on the EV chargers. We voted last time to hand off, we had a meeting to hand off ownership from Duke to NovaCharge to own it. They'll maintain it and they'll give us 10% of it. So that's the plan with that. Tom, I don't know if you want to jump in, but Tom's been reporting the fast chargers at Lakeside, a tremendous amount of numbers being used. They repaired the one, so it's up. Which leads to the other two that are there, which are the level 2s, which we have decided to have them, but not taking ownership of those two. It's going to free up 4 parking spots. And they said they will return it to the state that it was in before they put them in. So we're confirming that. And Jose spoke to Duke.
So I spoke to Duke yesterday. I got a call from Doug.
Oh, you did? All right.
Yeah, about 15 minutes before the meeting started. They will also include the fast chargers into the agreement.
Perfect. Okay.
And the other thing was the buyback option.
Yeah.
So as it stands, if you wanted to buy it back after the 3-year term is completed, it's $500 per unit. However, we can propose the dollar buyback if you want to buy back the hardware.
Yeah.
Just bear in mind that the hardware can only be used with NovaCharge or
Right.
Charge Up. That's it. You can't use it with any other. The only reason I would take it is if I wanted to leverage that to get another piece of hardware and say, hey, you could take this one and we'll pay the difference.
Yeah. And I just want to say one, this is personally and 100% subjective, and Celia. I appreciate, I am, if people know me, I am always residents first. I will do anything for residents. I love this community, always have, and I will do anything for residents. I will push back a little bit, and the woman who got up and spoke, and I said, I'm okay and good giving those spots to residents. I really am. The one thing that just rubs me a little bit the wrong way, and as a personal feeling, is that if Lakeside was literally had no spots and outside people were parking in our spots, I would be a lot more fiery about it. But the fact that there's 20 more spots 20 feet away, and I know some people probably with handicap stuff that 20 feet makes a difference, but people that are going swimming or exercising, and to walk 20 feet from the basketball court there, 5 open spots, and to get up in a meeting and kind of make it feel like there's no parking available, I just have a little bit of a hard time with that. And again, as a person,
Like me, though.
I know. So, but again, I'm for the residents. And as a group, because we own EV charging, when people talk about that, it's like the people that want to, and I fought with Tom last year about this, people want to park downtown and people come in and they say there's no parking. There's parking 2 blocks away, plenty of parking. People just want to park right in front of wherever they're going in.
Yeah.
That entitlement just rubs me the wrong way a little bit sometimes. So
So the conversation with the Duke charges, the 2 level 2s will be removed.
correct.
And Nova doesn't have a problem with this.
No.
Duke doesn't have a problem with it.
Nova.
So NovaCharge doesn't decide that.
that
Duke
doesn't.
Energy, we decide what we keep and what we don't keep, according to Duke. So once we tell Duke we want to remove those, they're gonna go ahead and remove the equipment and then put the floor as
Right.
close to what it used to be without the
Right.
charge.
That's what the brokers.
And then at that point, and we could pick and choose which charges we want to keep or not.
And this-
Once that's done, then we negotiate with NovaCharge the terms for servicing. And basically that is a maintenance agreement where they say, hey, you're gonna give it to us for 3 years, we're gonna own it, maintain it, support it. we'll pay whatever energy is dispensed to your energy carrier, plus we'll give you 10% of the net profit quarter.
Right, and I think removing the level twos if those were level threes, I don't know if we'd have voted so quick on, but level twos, it'll take about 6 to 8 hours to fully charge a car. We want outside residents coming and using the restaurants, we're usually here for 2 or 3 hours, right? So you're only gonna get 50 miles on that. So I mean, even practically, it makes sense even to remove those two. So if we have an argument by Paul or the other guy, the sustainable guy came to one of our meetings, he wants EV chargers everywhere, but I don't think it makes sense, right? Where it's gonna take 8 or 10 hours to charge from those two.
And
We have all our bases covered, I think, with the conversation.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna throw a wrench on this with just as we think about the future. So it came up yesterday as part of our master planning advisory group, and being the tech liaison.
Yeah.
So as we think of a master plan for the community over the next, I don't know, 10 years, EV charging, I assume, has a place there. They're not going away. They're getting more prevalent. Like, what does that look like? So what I would need help from the committee with is understanding, we don't have to talk about placement or whatever, but more, do we want to continue to expand the EV charger footprint within the town as you think about 2030?
Right.
And if so, what do we think that number would be based on the types of residents we have? I would leave it to the master planning group, because we've got some really talented folks there who can handle all the planning and understanding like where things should go and why. But if
And we have commitment, and that's great.
if we have a recommendation to say, because we have 11,000 residents, we should really have, I don't know, X number of chargers available within a certain mile. Like, if we can put together that, now it's going to be a quick turnaround because we're on a tight timeline with
Right.
the master planning group. So if we can start thinking about that and maybe have that discussion in January of what we would want to recommend, if we want to recommend, first of all, one, if we want to make a recommendation or just say, you guys figure whatever you feel like doing. And two, if we do want to make that recommendation, what do we think that recommendation is as far as numbers?
I think that's awesome. Just two variables here. One, CCDD has already had conversations with us about them providing space like in front of the Columbian stuff. So we do have commitment for them to help on that. So that'll help not taking away Crow or properties to do that. I think two, one of the things when you look, and again, I have an EV, when you look at it, people that are in apartments or some that don't have garages don't have a place to charge, right? So I think those facilities for them, when they want to think about getting an EV, they need places like that to charge their cars, right? So, and as the residents grow, I think that's important.
And there's nothing down Nordison that charges anything except for the nets in the park.
What about Island
Yeah,
Village?
we have like regular,
Island Village doesn't either.
has electric chargers in the parking lot.
Oh, they do?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking about they used to have the bike taxi right next
No,
to it, but
that's
they do
the-
have EV chargers on the other
So
side.
overcharge with those?
so we've got like
Right.
the regular 120s.
Who negotiated with Island Village for those?
That was,
That wasn't us, that was,
I believe it was.
I mean, TCC.
Mattamy negotiated with
I
them?
believe it was mad at me, but don't hold me to it. I'll look.
I'd like to know who owns those, if it's the same kind of arrangement.
Yeah, so something that we should just consider, because I would love to bring a recommendation that says this is where the technology committee, and then I don't know where it falls, but later in the agenda or whatever, we can, maybe in the brainstorming section.
Right.
Are there any other things? I mean, the basics will, if we're putting in new buildings, renovating buildings, we obviously want to have that as to like, let's bring it up.
Right.
Let's bring it to 2023. And
Jared brought up a point during that one meeting when Celia presented about Disney only has way less than we do at Celebration. But the fact that was left out, if you go to Disney to charge, they're always full. So they don't have enough. Yes, they have less than us, but they don't have enough. Because I've tried to charge there, and the people at Disney attendants tell you they go in the morning and so.
So if there's other things too that we can think of from a technology perspective, obviously like conferencing's top of mind, and obviously a strong Wi-Fi signals throughout any building. So that's the basics. But are there other things as we're thinking visionary from a technology perspective? And maybe we hit that in January, because I don't think we'll be at a point like we can maybe noodle over that and for the next month, and then in our next meeting, let's add it as an agenda and really brainstorm and think of, are there things that I should be bringing and saying, let's make sure we think about these.
So I suggest that we go meet for lunch again, and I'll pay over at Artisan, and then we can discuss it again with Aaron.
I'm game for that too.
So,
Yeah. I got just a comment. I'm not sure about the statement that we have more chargers than Disney does. I was over at Disney. Yeah, I actually over by Disney Springs, it was at least 3 or 4 fast chargers. We only have 2 fast chargers. So I'm not sure exactly what kind of chargers they're talking about, but I do take Chris's point that us taking out chargers, anybody who looks at a decision to remove chargers at a time when the number of chargers, and it's a part of national policy to increase the number of EVs on the road, that Celebration would make the call that we are going to actually reduce the number of EV chargers. And by the way, I don't own an EV, so I don't have any stake in this, but it just seems counterintuitive that we would make a call to take out EV chargers at a time when we have a government policy that is to install 5,000 more chargers at taxpayer expense throughout the United States. And we are supposed to, one of our pillars is technology. I'm not saying I'm opposed to removing the 4 chargers at Lakeside. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that I'm echoing Krista's point that I would be more than happy to work with CCDD if that's what it takes to increase the number of chargers that we have in Celebration, because this is the way that the world is going. Every major manufacturer, Ford, GM, everybody's announced that they are going to only produce EVs. So people who say, I'm never going to buy an EV, are going to be riding horses because gas vehicles are going away. So,
well, I think master planning's got a lot with like thinking about the buildings and stuff. And if we do, like, say for instance, you level a building and you're going to redevelop that lot, like, let's plan that into the parking situation. So like, make sure that that's part of the plan.
Yeah. And Tom, I agree with you. Everything you said, Tom, I agree 100%. I think though the rebuttal is, 1, they're the older chargers, and 2, the location that they're in doesn't behoove our residents in that spot, and we will have chargers elsewhere.
Anytime Tom's fine moving them, as long as there's a plan to add more.
Correct.
And I can't respond. We know who charges, because we get a printout of who pulled in, and we don't go through the detail of finding out, was this person a Celebration resident or not. But you saw that I sent out the posting from Google that in the past 2 years, we've had 500,000 views of Lakeside Park. 500,000, put that number. There's very few cities in Florida that have 500,000 people. So the people are looking at these chargers. This is the future. And I don't disagree with taking out the 2 chargers. I understand that we don't want to ask people to walk an additional 40 feet before they go swimming. But it just seems like I think we are going to get some blowback from residents who say, well, I thought we had a technology pillar in this town. Aren't we talking about putting in more chargers? So
and that's Krista's plan.
I don't think it's about the 40 feet. I think it's about the fact that Lakeside is, you see the sign when you pull in, resident only, decal, you need the decal. Anybody that has an electric car has access to that parking lot now. I think that's been the fight all along, not the 40 feet to the pool. Am I wrong in understanding?
No, I agree.
Because those charges are there now, that sign that says resident only means nothing.
Right. No, and that's fair. But the woman gave the example. I had my kids and I had to walk over so she elaborated on the walk.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I agree. I mean, I think residents, especially with the dues and everything, that should come first. But I think the plans behind it, like Krista said, so that I think that nobody's going to argue that. Yes, we were moving those to location, older technology. We have a plan. We are expanding, right?
I mean, I've had 2 interactions with people that don't live in Celebration. When we closed it off for one of the parties that we had, they wanted to come in and charge it. And we said, we can't let anybody in. Don't tell me you can't let me in. I need to charge my car. And then it was Food Truck Friday. The guy, I said, you can't move the barrier. He says, well, I'm going to move the barrier and I'm going to go charge my car. I said, are you a resident? Like, you could go to town hall.
Right.
Where the F is town hall? I don't even live here. I'm going to the Columbian for lunch. It's like, those things,
Right, and I think when we talked of this total different Ken, we talked about digital signage. I wanted, at the time we talked about this last year, to get like QR codes on signs where somebody like that can put their phone on a QR code and it'll say where you can charge
Yeah.
for celebration, right? So if you give information like that, literally come back here and charge, right? So I think information always is the cure, right, for people.
You mentioned digital signage. I know that's always been a thing, and they said that it's TCC is standing behind between that happening. Has everyone noticed the new digital signs that Disney has all over its
Yes.
property?
Yes.
It might be time to revisit that.
our property.
No, Disney,
Disney's property,
all the major,
all the major signs along World Drive and Lake
Mhm.
Buena Vista and everything are all digital signs now. So it might be worth revisiting that maybe next year.
is the master planning committee talking about downtown as well, like all the commercial district?
No,
Two?
that's not, we don't,
That's
have-
not a
yeah, we
purview.
can't do, so it's all the Croa property. And like I said, we're very early in the stages, which is why I say we can talk about it and bring it next month. It's right now, one of the things yesterday was just thinking about what are the properties that we have, and then we're working on getting a tour of the properties and understanding what's there. And then, like I said, there's some super talented people on there that have some brilliant thoughts on how we can, what we can do and how we can best utilize the space with residents first in mind.
Right, we can probably get a sign created pretty quick when we close down Lakeside that says town hall and the library, there's charging.
And the
Yeah.
dog park.
Yeah, the
Well,
dog park, yeah, right, and so people will go, they're gonna sit and wait for their car anyway, I mean.
And
Here
you
you
think
can
about the
walk by
signs,
the-
like, I don't know about
Temporary
you,
sign.
but I feel like that bike rack with the sign on it is not the aesthetic that Celebration needs, and it's there.
How many years has that been there?
Like, if you're gonna make a spot that's Celebration only, like, put a real sign. So like, those are the things, like, when you think about the aesthetics of Celebration, that's not it to me. I don't know if I'm alone in that, but
No, you're not
that's definitely.
Are you talking about the A-frame sign?
Yeah, the triangle of bike racks that says this is Celebration resident parking only. at the
Right, so
entrance
where
to
would you
Lakeside.
put a sign to prevent people from coming into the parking lot?
We're not here to solution that. That's not
Yeah.
for us to, but saying that is not, that's not the look we should be going for.
Then you
So-
look.
And thinking about those things of like, okay, how are people gonna use this? What do we need? And that's kind of the stuff that we need to focus on as we're thinking about long term.
All right, GoGov, I have a text out to Greg Fielak about, I don't know if you spoke to him or not, but he didn't respond back to my text yet about, I want to get on a phone with him, next steps. With that, the video, plus when they're gonna bring it together and,
So Elizabeth replied and said that she would take a look at it. Tom Hall did look at the videos. So he gave me some suggestions that I gotta make changes on. Nobody else.
yeah, and again, when I spoke to Greg the last time and I said this, we signed up to have this all integrated. I'm holding him 100% accountable. I want monthly meetings be part of, with the Aramark.
Yeah.
With Aramark I want to see like how many tickets,
Infomark.
how many tickets are coming in? Are they handled properly? So they're gonna be accountable and I will volunteer to do that and meet with them to make sure, right?
I'd love to know what the plan is from like a migration perspective. I know I still have a ticket open. It's been open for months about this tree, the tree that went down and the root ball's still there from the hurricane last year.
Was it in cellar service or is it?
Yeah, it's in Cella service. It was in Cella service.
Because I've heard that too.
Been there a long, long time.
Right, I heard some cell service tickets that have gone to CCTD or Canoa sitting there, but Grant Manos gave an update last Wednesday with all the tickets that they.
So we close out our tickets.
Yeah.
We don't control what.
Correct,
CCTV.
right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 'cause
But I
there's
just
two-
want to make sure that when they get tickets for Grand Manners, when this finally goes over, that they're routed properly to Grand Manners and they'll be held accountable for that. And that's where the frustration comes from residents.
A rollout plan for
Yeah.
this. That's really gonna make the difference.
Yeah, I'll ping him again. I also know Dave Hume really well. Okay, and then owner, again, it's great.
Again, I just need video review feedback. I don't want to continue without making sure that you guys give it the blessing and say, okay, this looks good enough to give to the residents or make these changes and then we'll reconsider.
Right. And then once we roll an owner out, Celia, I said this in our meetings before, I am more than happy once a month or twice a month to do like live training, because some people don't want to watch videos. We want to have this room twice a month. I will put the app up on the screen, walk them through how to do everything. We can do that twice a month. I'm happy to do that too.
I can bring it to Community Connections and you can tell the new residents
Right.
also. When we up that in January.
Right, because all the things we're able to do in this app is going to be phenomenal. I mean, it's really going to be a game changer. And I don't use game changer lightly, so. Anil just texted me, he's in a meeting, he can't get up, so, video conferencing was still kind of,
So the only thing I did was I created a checklist, and this is a recommendation that Krista had made. And that's the checklist we're using now for all our meetings. So we check everything pre, during, and post, and then we close out. And we store all that in monday.com. So now if there's a meeting at Heritage Hall, we document it. If there's any issues, we document that and make sure that we create a turnaround time for resolving any issues. So, thank you.
and then we're still waiting. We're not going to invest in technology
No.
until we find out what we're doing in the room, and
I
right now.
think
it's
right
just-
now, this is great. It hasn't broken down ever since we changed the camera and we just replaced some of the wiring. The only issue, and I think Bill can attest to this, there's some work that needs to be done in his closet. And it's really, the rack is really, if the rack needs to be changed to accommodate these things nice, so we can redo the wiring and at least keep it neat. So.
All right, so on the key card access, I have a few things I want to say, and then we'll go a little deeper. I'm super proud of this team. All the work that we did, we presented on Wednesday meeting, we got support, we got it voted for. Again, I think it's a game changer for the town. I'm very proud of everybody. The one thing I just want to discuss, so you guys all know if you get asked about this, when Jose and I were up here presenting, the vote was done and was approved. Jared asked a valid, great question about the integrator. They're like a VAR, they're an integrator. Were they a part of 3 bids for the work? And that kind of caught us off guard. We as a technology group evaluated the technology, 3 solutions, not the service. So Jose and I, we spoke the next day. I spoke to Celia. I just felt that Jared's point was valid. And Jose, when I discussed it, that the reason that we didn't do a bake-off on the providers because they're a already recommended approved vendor. They've done work already. So it was like almost a given. And they did a good job by sending 3 representatives with all 3 solutions. They didn't have just one person. They sent 3 people out as well. So because they were a recommended provider already, that we were good. So I just wanted to make sure that didn't create any chaos or misinformation or confusion with anybody, that they were the preferred vendor that because they were used there already. And, you know.
So do you have to get more bids?
So in order to make sure that we at least take the extra step, we will still look for 2 more bids. But I really want to make this very clear. It's been very challenging to find vendors that do this line of work. The times that we have spoken to them directly or had them do walkthroughs, the minute any kind of wiring requires any digging of trenches, or they look at any roofing issues, they tend to stand back. Low voltage here is a major issue. When I say major, our key card access breaks down almost every month. And we're paying for replacement. We're actually having the vendor come in tomorrow to fix dog park for like the 5th time. What I was thinking more was, hey, this is an opportunity to really make right on all the wrongs that are happening and get it done right the first time. I'm gonna look for these vendors. Am I gonna get, a magic number to resolve this? No. And the reason being is because when we went to our vendor, they took us directly to the company representatives to give us pricing. We didn't get it from a 3rd party. So when we called Gallagher, Gallagher came. When we called DMP, DMP came. And the confusion was really about the process, which Jared's point was extremely valid. When you're looking at 3 products, you're looking to replace your current vendor, then fine, you're going to replace your current vendor. You're going to look at 3 other ones, right? So for example, when we had a printing solution, we switched from one person and we looked at 3 comparable ones and we picked one. That made sense. But we already had a vendor. We're just looking to change the product.
And they did Island Village.
Yeah,
So
Protect
if you already had the vendor, you're just looking to change the,
the product that we're currently using,
The hardware.
which is the hardware. So we, typically when you do this line of work, you get 3 different products that are in line that can perform the same thing, and you make a decision on one. You don't go find pricing on that same product from 3 different people.
I think John explained it,
Yeah, so.
like buying a car.
Yeah, like and again, I said, you could, if Starling was the vendor that we always use and then we just want to get a new car, yeah, maybe you can go over to Cocoa Beach or something and find it cheaper over there, but you're not thinking about the service, driving it over there, they come here, right? And that's, I think, what happened with the park and stuff. Right?
And if the evaluation was for the vendor itself, then we look for 3 different vendors and get a comparable, make a fair comparison.
So we're still going with it, right?
Yeah, right, so Lauren was, he spoke to Lauren about
Yeah,
it.
I spoke to Lauren. Lauren held off on it. Scott from ProTech is waiting for us to get the board to sign. It was approved. It's just making sure that we could at least satisfy, getting those quotes and say, look, we got the quotes, but we still feel that this is the company to stick with, and if anybody wants to challenge it and review their line of work, just go to Island Village Clubhouse and look at their wiring. It was immaculate. They did.
Something's good down there.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean,
And outside of the
this is all,
wiring,
like, we also have to keep in mind that we're 25 years old here versus brand new. So there's been a lot of changes. So like, I mean, it isn't comparing apples to apples. It's where we could go. So that's definitely part of it. And then, I mean, it's conflict. Key card access systems. I had to maintain one for a campus. It's not uncommon that something's going to be broken all the time. And it's honestly because of the use. People don't pay attention. I've seen so many times where people just yank the door and then it's like, oh, I need to use I need to push the button to exit or something. And in the course of multiple people doing that, they just break stuff.
And the fact that they're just an
Happens
approved,
at the pool every day at Lakeside.
so just so you know, a majority of our calls are not even related to the doors. It's related to the controllers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what happens is whenever there's a thunderstorm or there's an outage, it trips the
Oh.
controller, so the batteries burn out. You got brownout from really poor cabling, low voltage cabling. So the magnets you would literally touch the magnets on the pool and they're hot.
Mhm.
It shouldn't be hot,
right? And I think the concern from Jared, and he elaborated a little bit, I think it's 2 things. One, you want to make sure the pricing is fair pricing they lay it out per hour, right? Because some people, like when I get work done, my house, people come in, it's celebration, I'm going to double the price, right?
Celebration pricing.
I think that's one. I think 2, the one thing that residents are concerned about, and this happened in Sienna a year and a half ago, 'cause I have a property over there. It was like somebody's cousin that was doing the work, right? So they were getting kicked. So the fact that this is a preferred vendor, this is not John's cousin coming and doing the work, right?
Yeah.
And I think people are always concerned about that. So they've done work, they're preferred. There's no worry about that. We know the pricing.
Yeah, and we're getting them to do additional wiring for additional cameras as well. So,
So doing the math, the board approved Celebration, they approved the project management costs. Artisan Park was a separate quote,
it is a separate quote
and why is that?
because that's something that Bill McFadden has to approve, and typically that gets handled through them.
So when I talked to Bill about it, he said, if Crow is changing their security system, and this is a CROA facility, and it's got to integrate with CROA, why wasn't it part of the total for the community?
So when we gave the quotes to the board, we did give them Artisan Park's quote.
The board didn't approve that.
Oh.
The dollar amount
That's,
was the project management and the total, but it didn't include the Artisan Park amount.
oh no,
Do
so
the math on the notes.
that's not something that I'm
I'm just saying.
I'm just curious. I'm curious just as you are.
Yeah.
But it's something I could bring up.
Was
to-
it presented to the board?
Yes, the quote was given.
Did they
to-
choose not to?
I
No,
don't
they
think it
were-
was
It was a
intentional.
separate quote, so.
yeah, there was, we were trying to, because it was all Viking quotes. And I tried to show, I don't know who I was sitting next to. There was a separate quote for Artisan. They were all separate quotes. But we approved the lump sum of
The-
196.
So the lump wasn't the lump. The
So,
lump
yeah.
was the top line big CROA and the project management. If you
I
add those
think it
two
was like
things,
15,000 for Artisan.
Yeah,
Right.
15,000 for
Right.
Artisan.
I remember specifically seeing that,
Artisan be responsible for that?
So Bill's contention is it's a CROA property. CROA owns the Artisan Park Clubhouse. It's a CROA security system that's CROA wide. Why wasn't it included in the overall CROA number? That's what Bill said.
Yeah, because
Now,
he doesn't
you-
issue key cards. He can't issue key
Right,
cards.
right.
That's all done here at town hall.
So we can discuss that with Lauren and with Bill.
It may need to come.
I was just doing what I was
Yeah.
instructed to do to separate
Yeah.
those quotes. So
Yeah, so if I do and I talked to Bill about it because I saw it, I went, so, hey, just heads up, Bill. This might be coming your direction, and his question.
Yeah. So it's just 15K for that part.
yeah, 15.
That's the hardware also for that?
That's it. That's everything.
And so as we talk about them installing and redoing cabling and wiring, I'm not saying don't, I'm just saying more be mindful of what we do here at this building. Because something's gonna happen here, like we don't have walls, so something's gonna happen.
We
here.
asked that in one of our meetings. They said it's portable, right? They can disconnect everything and move it over to a new.
So the equipment itself
Mhm.
can be removed.
But it costs money to like run cables through
Yeah,
walls
so
and stuff,
that's-
so like, we don't have a wall here, like.
But the doors and stuff will still be the same, right?
Yeah.
Same wiring.
Mhm.
Before I forget, if you can get a copy of, I don't have it with me, a board packet.
I got it.
I think it was explained in the motion,
Mine.
like why Artisan wasn't part of the total.
Yeah.
Does it say that? Do you see? it?
So this is what was in the board packet.
Okay, does it
The
say?
total approved was $196,698.14.
Right,
If you take that and you subtract the Gallagher line 1, it leaves the project management total at the bottom, which is $19,042.20. So Artisan Park Gallagher, that $15,712 is not in that total approved number by the board at the bottom.
but
So
there
maybe-
was an explanation in the packet why Artisan was separate. I remember
Notice,
reading
note
that.
it in the bid, Artisan will be separate. If the CROA board motions to approve this project, Artisan Park Management will proceed in taking the next steps to acquire Gallagher key card access system. Bill McFadden, I'm just relaying my conversation. It's not his official stance, but he's like, this is a CROA building. This is a CROA security
Why is it
system.
separate?
Why is it separate? So I
Makes
don't know how
sense.
that gets picked back up and the ball
That
handled.
might be a second other vote.
Yeah, and the board could vote for the Artisan Park addendum since it's CROA property.
Does it have anything to do with the fact that they're not, it doesn't have anything to do with they're a separate management company?
I'm
Or
not
anything.
sure. I was just told to
Yeah.
separate Artisan
Okay.
Park in terms of the financial component.
Mhm.
And that was, it. So,
We'll find out.
but that,
The
but
budget was
you know
just
what, this
approved,
drives,
so we
Yeah.
don't have a budget for that.
this drives another point, which is like, I need to start understanding more like what buildings, in this case for Artisan, if it's gonna be inclusive to all major projects going forward, because then I don't want to keep doing this and not include ours.
Right,
You
Yeah, the
know,
building itself is, Tom, you're the historian. Can you weigh in?
No, everything you've said is correct. There's nothing to weigh in on.
So it should be included.
Yeah, the key card.
Yeah,
is set up here.
I would think
But
it's
would
somewhat
work.
absurd to think that Artisan Park would have a different car key to access system than the rest of Celebration. So, in fact,
I moved.
card key access right now is controlled by CROA. Bill has the ability to turn on or turn off his particular doors, but the mothership is CROA.
you have a reverse networking route from Artisan to
So
us.
let me ask a question. So I buy a property in Artisan, I come, I over here to get my key card. Who
Yeah.
flags it that I can get into that building?
They
You
do.
or the
CROA.
CROA does?
Yeah, we just.
Well, CROA does it. Well, the way it was supposed to work versus the way it's actually working is different, but it was supposed to be that person then comes down to Artisan Park and they meet Bill, and then Bill from his office could authorize them to access the Artisan Park facilities. And then there was additional doors, for example, the gym. After the person signed a waiver, Bill could turn that on or off. But then there was a problem with what that actually physically working, whether Bill would have had access to the system. This is the ProScan or the KeyScan system we currently have. And he's been going back to Jose. The only thing else I would add here is in any of this, I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding as to what this really is. We're not changing any wires. The wires are all going to stay the same. We're not changing. All we're doing is changing the sensor that's on the door and the board that the other end of the wires connect to. So we're going to use the existing wiring.
To get back there.
Does Bill have access to your system?
With the exception of Lakeside, by the way, in the dog park, those are going to be rewired.
Okay.
He can
Whatever
access
reason.
the door.
We can, so he has access to.
Or artisan.
For
He
artisan.
cannot
Just
turn your art, he cannot do anything with your town hall
No.
access.
Just for artisan
for artisan.
residents.
Does
But
he have,
town hall can give you artisan.
just out of curiosity, I'm not anything malicious here, but
No.
like, does Bill have access to go in and like look my account up and see
No.
stuff, or
No,
he just has one set of flags of
Yeah.
just
Just
artisan.
art.
Just artisan. That's
just
it.
artisan can't?
Yeah, whenever there's an issue, like he needs me to review an entry or whatever, he'll send me an email. I'll look at the logs and send them the reports. If he needs help with an issue, then I just go.
Right, I'm only asking
And we
because
turn-
we've
yeah.
discussed security structure, right? So I'm just,
We turn in the gym forms here.
Yep.
And then I know here they can set up,
Okay.
I know they can give access from here to the clubhouse,
Yes.
but Bill can only grant or
Yeah.
remove access for the
Alright,
clubhouse.
cool.
So the other point that I think we should make clear for Celia's benefit is that what we were looking at was hardware vendors to provide a particular capability. And that capability was more than just opening and closing locks. It was the capability of screening people who enter events. It was the capability of triggering our security cameras to store events when they happen. It was a fairly broad review of the capabilities of this card access system, if you want to call it that. But it was a review of their technical capability. It was not a review on our end of install vendors or representatives of those companies. We looked at 3 companies for what their technical capabilities, and we produced a compliance matrix that was as extensive as we could come up with to try to objectively bring facts to each of the capabilities of these 3 companies, is what they could or could not do. And that's what we submitted to the board. So my request would be, I'm not up for going and repeating that process of looking at the potential vendors to provide this equipment. If we need to look at someone else to install it, to install Gallagher, which we selected, then so be it. I mean, I'm totally okay with that. We can go out and get 3 vendors for people to install the equipment or to do the project management or whatever aspect. But when it comes to the actual choice of hardware vendors, I'm asking that they don't send us back to the drawing board and ask us to once again review the potential vendors for the hardware platform.
So that becomes an issue with ethics. We got this vendor to come in and do the legwork to spec out every piece of equipment to then tell them, hey, we're gonna go with somebody else to do the wiring for us after you did the legwork.
Okay.
That's gonna break.
Yeah, I understand that, but you understand what I'm saying is we looked at everybody that we know that makes card key access systems, and we narrowed it down with those particular manufacturers, not the rep, but the companies themselves. And we produced this matrix. So having done that work, which was quite a bit of work, I'm asking that they don't, even though we're free, we're not limitless. So they don't send us back to the drawing board and ask us to go look at more vendors of hardware platforms. The Gallagher is the platform that we selected, and then exactly how they want to deal with the fact that one or more companies can install that equipment, that's a separate matter that somebody else should take up. We're technologists.
What is he saying when he refers to they?
Who you talking about? You asking me a question?
Tom, when you're referring to they, who are you talking about?
Well, I'm referring to the board, but I'm particularly referring to Jared, who raised an objection to who the installer was going to be, that we didn't go out and look at 3 installers. We didn't really look at any installers. We only looked at 3 hardware platforms. And I don't dispute or take offense or anything that Jared said. It was all points well taken, but that wasn't our mission. Our mission was to explore what is the best technology for celebration. We're technology people. And along with that comes how do you install it and who installs it and who project manages and all that. I'll be first to disclose that that wasn't something that we were looking at was, well, who's going to do this install? Maybe we should have, but we didn't. And I think that's the point that we're discussing. And what I'm asking you, Celia, as a board member, is say, don't send us packing and say, hey guys, go look at new vendors for these for this equipment, because we did a lot of work to come to where we are on the 3 vendors that we looked at.
I didn't know we were going to do that.
No, the board voted for it and it approved.
Yeah.
Right, but I think there's enough information to look at the contract to know that it's reasonable pricing. We're not being gouged by service providers.
Is it swaying off the process a little? Maybe, but
No, it's the issue is that when we typically evaluate, right, for products or for services, there's either 3 individuals that are going to execute the installation for something or perform a duty or service. You look at 3 different vendors, or you have one person who's going to say, hey, you're looking for these solutions. I'm going to present you with 3 different products.
like a subcontractor,
Right,
when you're
and-
getting work done in your home.
Right, so they're gonna review they're gonna give us the 3, they're gonna get us the 3
Right.
vendors. We're gonna review the products. And they're gonna say, okay, pick the one you want, and we're gonna perform the service of installing it for you and setting it up.
Okay.
So we're looking at the product, we're not looking at the vendor. We already have a vendor that does the wiring, so the issue was the product, and I
Right.
think that was where the confusion was.
Right, the threat of them charging us too much, I think, is null, because again, they do also the work for us, and we're happy with the service, the level of the service and the pricing.
The RFP wasn't to find a new vendor.
No.
The RFP was to pick new hardware.
Correct.
That was the RFP. That's what was approved. We already have a vendor in place who helped us with identifying the vendors and identifying the hardware vendors and picking one. So that's what the RFP was, and that's what was approved. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we're good.
We're good.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
How is the artisan art thing gonna get back?
We do need to resolve that.
So I will bring that up to Lauren
Okay,
tomorrow and see how we can just,
or will it go on the agenda? So the
it would
board,
more than likely go on the agenda to just make an addendum and put that in that as well.
I would talk to Lauren first because of all the legalities
Yeah.
with the building and Artisan Park. There's so many like different
Intricacies.
pieces. So Bill Long is making a valid point. Bill McFadden's making a valid point, but you don't know why and where and how and.
So, yeah, I'll speak to Lauren about it. Bring it up.
Yeah, there needs to be something. There needs to be a decision of some point, whether it needs to be because we can't be on 2 separate systems.
Right.
So whether it needs to be kicked to the APC and it needs to be part of their agenda items to discuss, or if it needs to be resolved by the Crow Board.
Yeah.
One of the boards has to take an action on it. We just need to figure out which way.
But Lauren will know all the legalities of it, so that'll be good.
I have to go.
Yeah.
My kid's got a choir concert that I need to
Yeah,
get
so
to.
before we adjourn, real quick, again, I want to say thank you to Celia again this past month. Reaches out to me, texts me, asks questions, asks what support our team needs. So I really appreciate all that again. So again, and our group, I just want to say thank you again to her. Because
Thank you.
I can't be harassed, by the way, so.
I left you a note on your windshield.
And follow up, we should set up a brainstorm time to talk about what we want to bring as recommendations to the master
Yeah,
plan.
just pick a time. I'm
group,
happy to
so.
shoot over to Artisan for lunch.
Okay,
And
I'll throw an email, throw it out, and we can pick a date or maybe.
I'm always happy to buy
Zero
Tom
or
chicken
far?
finger, kids chicken
What?
fingers.
Near term or far term?
Near-ish. I understand there's holidays right now and
Best
like, and I'm
efficient.
out of
That's
the
good.
Yeah.
state for the second week of January too, so
Okay.
like just, let's throw some dates out
Yeah,
there. We can
okay.
hit it up on the email thread and we'll
Yep.
throw some dates and see what works for folks.
Cool.
Cause I know it's gonna be a challenging
just
next
had-
couple of weeks.
A question.
I gotta go.
Thank you,
Thanks, guys.
Krista.
Thank you, Chris.
The Teams Live, is that working?
No, we're using standard Teams
We
for
haven't
now.
done that.
I did a test with it. I did run into some issues. It works slightly different from your normal Teams. It's, I'm looking at it more from the user's experience.
So like, can you look at it from the resident's experience?
That's
Does
what
it
I mean
work
by the
like-
user. I mean the resident.
It's not,
It's easy for them to see on their end, and the link works just fine. On the admin side, it works a little different. So
Did you
that's,
send me one that I can just log
Yeah.
into? Look on?
yeah, a matter of fact, I believe I can set you up to have like Teams Live set up, and then you can.
All right, it's interesting. I mean, all of us are on.
It's not complicated, it's just different. It's.
And that's the key word, because I'm on calls all the time, because all the thousands of people I support, and you just have people that like Zoom. Some people like Teams, some people like me, I like WebEx, some
Yeah.
people. So I think it's more about what people are comfortable with and
It's
like.
flavor, right? Like I use WebEx and Zoom. I've never had an issue with Zoom. I've had some minor issues with the install. There's
Plugins?
there's a plugin that
Yeah.
goes in for the WebEx, but outside of that, it works just fine. It was more of ease of use,
Right.
easier to.
so what's the Teams Live, what is it for the resident? Is it not user friendly?
For the residents, it wouldn't make a difference. Just the
Okay, so
link
they
would be
don't know.
different.
But I thought it was,
The link would be different and it wouldn't require them to log in or anything. You'd just be able to just use it. as
right, like
is.
my issue with Teams too is that I have like 3 logins for Microsoft. I have my town hall one, I have one of my wife's business, and I have another one. So if I'm logged into town hall and all of a sudden somebody from T-Mobile sends me an invite and I join the meeting, it has me logged in as John from town hall.
Right.
And so that's, Live doesn't do that, right?
No, Live
Live
doesn't
doesn't do that. So it solves that kind of problem where it's just a generic login that you'd use for
Right.
live.
But Zoom, you could go in and change your name to another.
Right, because it's not an
person's name.
official login with Zoom.
Yeah,
It's
there's
just a
no
name.
official login.
It's not official
Because-
login.
I liked Zoom when we had our board meetings, but that was the first time during COVID that they were having board meetings. But somebody went into the chat and changed their name to my name
Right.
and then started posting stuff on social media that I was saying this stuff. So it makes it very easy for somebody to
Yeah.
steal your identity.
Yeah, that's true. My issue with Zoom is that it has your picture plus the grid and your picture. You kind
Yeah.
of see your picture twice, and that's like. But I was on the other day with the Utah School of Deaf and Blind, and we were on WebEx and they hated it because they're used to it and they sign and stuff on it. So we have to all get off and jump on Zoom because the way they're just comfortable with it. So, but okay, do I have a second to adjourn? Second, all right. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Tom. Breck. Breck, you
All right.
still on?
Yeah, I'm still on. I had the mute on, so yeah.
All right, hey, let's, I'm gonna send you an email. Let's find some time. Maybe you and I can go grab something or copy something. So I want to use your skill set more.
Sure, yeah.
Kind of wasting you on the sidelines there.
I'm all for it.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Tom. Thanks. Tom's in Newark.
Was in Chicago.
Yeah.
I think I saw him this week.